Why does a big game involving Algeria always seem to involve Burkina Faso? Well, it's happening once again, the fifth instalment of the Chronicles of Algeria against Burkina Faso. Today we're looking ahead to Algeria's second game at the AFCON 2023 as Algeria take on Burkina Faso once again in the Bouaki Stadium, a fantastic field. No complaints about the pitch this time as there were at the last cup in Cameroon. That Douala pitch was an absolute bloody potato field, so we can't use that excuse this time, although we've got plenty of other excuses lined up, such as the fact that it's a 2 o'clock kickoff, we're playing in the heat, but I'm not falling for that one. Hello, it's boiling hot for both teams, so that's not going to work with me. So Saturday afternoon, 2 p.m, Algeria, Burkina Faso in Group D. We thought it was going to be a walk in the park when the draw was made, but once again, here we find ourselves having to, I wouldn't say it's a must win, I'd say it's a must not lose, but it's not necessarily a must win. We've seen in previous games, such as the Egypt situation, the Ghana situation, they both failed to win their opening 2 games and still have their destiny in their own hands. That'll be the same for Algeria, even if we failed to win against Burkina Faso, even if we lost, God forbid, to Burkina Faso, it doesn't mean we're out of the competition. It just means all roads lead to beating Mauritania on match day 3. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I'd like to talk about recent games against Burkina Faso. They do bring back a lot of memories, a lot of good memories. I remember being at college late 2013 to go to the World Cup in Brazil. We drew Burkina Faso again. We were like, get in, it's going to be really easy. I remember Egypt had Ghana and lost 6-1. We drew Burkina Faso, we lost 3-2 in Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso had 2 penalties in that game. One they scored, one they missed. Both were never a pen. Faguli scored in that game. We won the return leg 1-0. I'm sure I remember it's 11 years ago now. That's bonkers. Fawzi Gulam put in a ball. Majid Bouguera stumped the ball in. It wasn't the prettiest of goals, but we went mental. We won on away goals. We went to the World Cup in Brazil. And then even for the Qatari World Cup, before all the madness with Gassama and Cameroon and all that nonsense, we actually had to play Burkina Faso twice, home and away, in the qualifying group. And we actually drew both games. We drew 2-2 and 1-1. And Sofiane Faguli scored in both of those games. So, for me, although you could say it's a bit irrelevant and he's not as attacking as he once was, in terms of the mentality, I think Burkina Faso seems to be a bit of a bogey team, but players always have teams that they seem to score against. And I think you start Sofiane Faguli just because of how good his goal record is against Burkina Faso, and a lot of those players, if they see him running at goal, will be worried mentally. So for me, I'd start Faguli. That's not the only reason. We'll come to that when we talk about what team should Algeria start. The good news is Mohamed Amoura is available for selection once again. He missed the first game through suspension because of the yellow cards in qualifying. That of course coincided with Ammi having to withdraw from the squad even before the pre-tournament friendlies had began. So particularly that left-hand side was already at a disadvantage. You'd suspect Amoura comes into the team for the second game. But when you look at the attack, Belali done okay. I thought he did okay. Not amazing, but not terrible. Of course, Buna just scored a cracking volley, an even better bicycle kick that was disallowed. Both those players came off because of the heat, and they were tired, not because of their performance. So the actual weak link in the front 3 was Mahrez. But we all know, as much as many people watching this video don't want Riyad to start the game, he is going to start the game. He's going to start right wing, and he's going to start captain, as he always has done, whether he's played a 10 out of 10 or dropped an absolute stinker. He's the captain, he's going to play the same way if fit. Salah will play for Egypt, Mane will play for Senegal, and Ziyech will play for Morocco. It's the same situation. So it doesn't matter if you don't want him in. And for what it's worth, I do. He will play. So Mahrez takes the right, and then you're thinking, well, how do you drop Bounedjah after he scores and does that? You can't. Slimani won't come in. He did nothing when he came on. So Baghdad keeps the place. Do you play Amoura on the left? It seems like it's the only position in that system. But again, it would be harsh on Belali. He got an assist and he nearly scored himself. So what seems to be happening is that Belmadi can't drop any of that front three of Belali, Bounedjah or Mahrez. So what he has to do, if he wants to get Amora in that team, is change the system. So I'd expect him to actually really tweak it and go 4-4-2. Whether that be with Amora just behind Baghdad, whether that be with the two up there, with Baghdad and Amora, Belali left mid, Mahrez right mid, the two centre mids have to be very defensively disciplined. And that's why I'd say an experienced Faguli with a Hisham Boudawi or a Zarouki in there would be fantastic. Listen, we're not talking about a Ben Taleb because as far as I'm concerned, Belmadi's been made the scapegoat for not subbing him off. But ultimately, for me, Ben Taleb let the nation down. He let the nation down. He kicked the geezer for no reason. There was no danger. It's not like he stopped a goal. And quite frankly, he was lucky to stay on the pitch. So I'm sorry, Nabil, you let the nation down, mate. So for me, Ben Taleb comes out. Benassa looks rusty. We know how good he is, but again, another player on a booking. So if either of those players got booked in this game, they'd miss Mauritania. And Mauritania is a much more winnable game with respect than the Burkina Faso game. So Mandrea will play in goal. Ait-Nouri will play left back. Ben Sebaini and Mandy will be the two centre halves, although you could put Belaid in there if you wanted a more physical presence. Of course, Ben Sebaini has also got a yellow card in that first game, quelle surprise. So a booking for him. He misses Mauritania. Right back. Wouldn't put it past Belmadi putting Van den Kerkhoff in there, or Gitoun, or whatever he's called today. I think Attal could come out. He's far too attacking. You can't afford that against Burkina Faso. You can get away with it against Angola and Mauritania. But going forwards, great. Leaves a massive gap back there. So for me, Van den Kerkhoff in there, tell him to stay back. Ait-Nouri, that little triangle, the Ait-Nouri and Belali and Benassa was great. But defensively, it's not great. And Burkina Faso going the other way are going to be far more threatening than Angola. I mean, Angola posed no threat and still drew and scored. And that's from our own doing. An early Eid present. We can't afford to be doing stuff like that again, lads. So I'm really keen to not make comparisons with this game and the second group game last time against Equatorial Guinea, where we also went into that game with a point, thinking we were going to win, and we lost. And ultimately, that cost us the tournament. Burkina Faso is a much stronger opponent. I think this game could well be a draw. And to be honest, guys, if we drew this game, I wouldn't be too disappointed. If we win it, then winning the group's on our hands. But after Burkina Faso, for me, they still got incredibly lucky. A 96-minute penalty, with respect, again, they couldn't break down Mauritania. The only way they did was Bertrand Traoré coming on and scoring a late pen, which was a very farcical decision. So if it wasn't for that decision with the VAR, it would have been 0-0. So with respect, if Burkina Faso can't score against Mauritania from open play, there's no way they should be scoring against Algeria, the Algerians, from open play. So if Burkina Faso score, we've got big problems internally. And they pose a threat. Like I said, Traoré came on. Dango Ouattara, the Bournemouth winger, was injured. Is he going to make it back? We'll have to wait and see. They've got Kabore, who's the right back for Luton. They've got some good plays in there, particularly Tapsoba at the back, who is top of the league in Germany with Leverkusen and Xabi Alonso and all that goes with that. Coffee in goal is a very experienced goalkeeper. Listen, it's not a glamour name on paper, but let's be real. In the last 5 AFCONs, Burkina Faso have made the semi-finals not once, not twice, but 3 times. That's more than we have, okay? So give them the respect they deserve. I'm sure Belmadi doesn't be complacent or anything like that, but maybe part of tackling Tapsoba's presence and experience defending back there is to give him both Bounedjah and Amora to think about, and Amora's pace is crucial. Now, speaking of pace, people want Adam Ounas to play on that right side over Mahrez. If you're going to want to drop Mahrez, you don't drop him for Adam Ounas. I'm sorry. If you've got like a really star right winger, your second best player, and they're just 2 players in the same position, I get it. To go for, if Mahrez isn't good enough, Adam Ounas isn't the step up. It's the same, if anything, or lower. And what Mahrez offers in terms of his experience, he's played a lot of big games. I think he's still got a lot to offer in this tournament. But for the first time in a long time, it feels, and it's not from me, but it feels like the tide is turning on Djamel. And the Belmadi out is sort of outweighing the Belmadi in. Now, you win an AFCON, you got credit in the bank, okay? You come out in the group, it's shocking, but because you've won an AFCON, you're not seen as a villain. So you win one, you lose one, and then you're there. Cameroon's a really unique situation in that World Cup playoff because, listen, We were 10 seconds from the tournament. You could say the in-game management cost us because we went for Belfodil to come on to waste time for Slimani. That backfired. And then you look at the in-game management in the game against Angola, where Belmadi, first half he got it spot on. The second half was just appalling. So he should have taken off Bentaleb or Benassa because they were both booked. And at that point, they both couldn't put challenges in. Oh, I know Bentaleb still decided to whack someone's leg, but do you understand what I'm saying? If Bentaleb's withdrawn, Zarouki doesn't do that, Badawi doesn't do that, Houssam Aouar doesn't do that. So for me, they're both elements of blame, but I'm very much behind Belmadi. And I always tell anyone that says they want Belmadi to go, who are you going to put in that dugout that's better? Okay? There's no better Algerian coach. So automatically you've got a coach that's always going to be less passionate if they're not from the country. That's the reality. Senegal have got a Senegalese manager. Morocco have got a Moroccan manager. Tunisia, Cameroon, most of the top nations now have got local coaches. And back in the day, they all had foreigners. So let's give Belmadi the respect he deserves. He's one of only 3 coaches at this cup to have won the bloody thing. He's no mug. But he thinks the media are against him. I think the backlash was harsh. I think people are forgetting that Algeria's first 45 against Angola was one of the best 45 minutes played by any team at this tournament. We should have been 3-0 up. Ultimately, we didn't take our chances. That cost us the game. You know, Bounedjah times is run by a second. The bicycle kick counts. But Laley's shot bends in a little bit more. It counts. It's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. That's the way it goes. So the second half was like AFCON 21. The first half was like AFCON 19. So what's the group saying? So Burkina Faso sit on 3 because of that stupid late winner. It's just going to come back to bite us, isn't it? Algeria and Angola both on 1, although at the moment in time we're actually third because we got 4 yellow cards and Angola got 1. So that means we both on 1 point, but Angola sits second. Mauritania sits in bottom, and they did lose Abubakar Kamara, aka AK-47, if you pardon the pun. They're on 0. So if we want to win the group, we have to beat Burkina. Burkina, draw or win, they're going to win the group. Algeria are going to have to think about finishing second, which means moving from Bouaki in the last 16. The group winners get to stay in Bouaki, of course. So what lineup would I play? It's a tough one. And if it's tough for me, how tough must it be for Djamel? Listen, Mandrea in goal, Ait-Nouri, Mandy Ben Sebaini. Wouldn't be surprised if Belid comes in. Artalo Guitoun is closer than people think. I mean, Belmadi doesn't trust that many players. He trusted Van den Kerkhoff to come on in that second half, and he wasn't too bad. I think because of the heat, this game is not just about the 11. This game's going to be about 16 players. We're more than certainly going to use all 5 subs. The hour mark, you might even see 2 or 3. The players are going to be knackered. It's going to be boiling. It's going to be cooling breaks all over the shop. Mentally, it affects you. Physically, you're tired, but mentally, when the concentration slips, that's when mistakes creep in. I think the midfield is going to be the decisive factor here. Forget blaming Riyadh. Stop blaming Riyadh. Riyadh's brought a cup home. So, some big calls. I wouldn't be surprised if Benassa was dropped, kept him fresh from Mauritania. That's what I would do. I would put Badawi and Faguli. That's what I would do. And Shaibi, for me, has to be dropped. It's hard to not play Aouar in a game like this because of his quality, but I just feel like we can't have an attacking mid. So you have Faguli and Badawi in there. You have Belali and Mahrez on the wings. You keep Belali in there. You keep Baghdad, and it gives you the option to play Amora either as a 10 or as a second striker. So I would go Mandrea, Ait-Nouri, Ben Sebaini, Mandy, Van den Kerkhoff with Faguli and Badawi. Again, the legend of Bashar is used to the heat because of those desert temperatures. Belali, Mahrez, Amora and Baghdad. That would be my side. You keep Benassa fresh, you keep Yusuf Atala fresh, you keep Houssam Aouar fresh, you keep Faris Shaibi fresh, you bring them all back in inshallah, for Mauritania, where you go for the win and you go for top. But listen, we've been in this boat before and it sunk deeper than the Titanic when we had Equatorial Guinea and Sierra Leone. This time it's Burkina Faso. So I'm actually going to go for 1-1. We've seen these second group games as do or die. Teams need results. There's a lot of goals. There's going to be spaces. There's gaps opening up. But I do think it'll be a draw. And that'll be 2 points, which is more than what we got last time. In fact, it's double. And then you beat Mauritania. And with respect, Djamel, if you can't beat Mauritania in game 3, it really is time to go, son. So what are you expecting from Algeria and Faso? Let me know in the comments down below. Here we go. Time's running out. Kickoff's coming fast. I'll see you after the game.